Slasher horror movies are stereotypically seen as taking place during the fall season, usually right before, heck, sometimes even during, or right after Halloween. This is largely because fall is associated with the sky getting dark sooner and the weather getting chillier, a deadly combo that has the crazies coming out of the woodworks to hide in shadows, stalk babysitters, and cause mayhem and bloodshed. The lack of light is the only friend they have. That's what makes summer slasher movies so horrifying, because instead of relying on darkness, they let the bloodbath take place in broad daylight, which honestly is far scarier because now I get to fear for my life at all hours of the day. And since summer is here, I have 8 retro summer slasher movies for you that'll have you in a state of fear and anxiety in the mornings as well as the evenings. Number 1, The Texas Chain Saw Massacre, circa 1974. This is the quintessential summer slasher horror movie and sets some high standards for other summer slashers to follow, which, honestly, none of them could match. See, when it comes to summer slashers, they can be any combination of A, entertaining, B, critically acclaimed, C, well-received by audiences, D, culturally significant, and E, popular, but they can't be all 5. Texas Chain Saw Massacre, however, is the only exception. It quite legitimately checks off all of the boxes, and as Sidney Prescott would say, don't F with the original. And she has a point. Texas Chain Saw Massacre is literally the blueprint. And where it succeeds is that it takes the Scooby Gang archetypes, removes the dog, ramps up the rating to R from TVY, sprinkles blood, gore, and some seriously disturbing scenes of people getting butchered, and voila, a masterpiece is born. Whether you see it as a summer slasher, horror, drama, film, art, whatever, the movie can hold its own because it's a classic, and even though it's from the 70s, it's better than half the new horror movies that are hitting the screens today. Number 2, The Hills Have Eyes, circa 1977. I don't even know how somebody comes up with something as wild as the plot for The Hills Have Eyes, but when I saw Wes Craven's name appear in the credits, it all started to make sense. So before he hit it big with Gen X and millennials when they were young adults, teens, and preteens, Wes Craven was still being a menace and making creative horror movies that would have you hooked. One of them just happened to be a summer slasher about a family that goes on a road trip and runs into a bunch of mutants who want to kill them. Like, no, really, that's literally what the movie is about. Mutants. And in this case, the mutants are nothing like the X-Men, and if anything, are more like the nutjobs from the movie Wrong Turn. Going off of that, take Wrong Turn, kill the budget, set it in the 70s, attach Wes Craven as an up-and-coming director, and you get The Hills Have Eyes. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but a summer slasher is a summer slasher. Number 3, Piranha, circa 1978. Piranha is to Jaws as 50 Shades of Grey is to Twilight. They were both intended as parodies of the original movies that very clearly inspired them. Now, honestly, this movie was a fever dream because of how bizarre the plot is, but I've never watched a movie where the murderer is a school of fish. Specifically, genetically engineered piranhas. Like, I can't even make this stuff up. Who came up with the idea, who pitched it, and who greenlit this movie? Because I would like to personally and publicly thank them for their service, because say what you will about this film. It's entertaining in a made-for-TV, you might find it on Tubi if not on cable on a slow Saturday at 2 in the morning kind of way. It's also the only creature feature on this list. So check it out if you're into nostalgic, summery 70s shots mishmashed with some strange special effects and campy killer fish. The novelty slaps, not gonna lie. Number 4, Tourist Trap, circa 1979. What's insane about this slasher movie is that it's rated PG. That's right, the only slasher film I have ever come across that you can watch with your kids. Okay, maybe let's not get ahead of ourselves, but this is honestly one of the tamer horror movies, largely because it's a psychological slasher movie, which further adds to its uniqueness. So the plot is that a bunch of teenagers or young adults come across a wax museum where they encounter a telekinetic serial killer with a simple but hella frightening mask. I don't know who the heck wrote this movie, but they really popped off in the writer's room, and the director took it up a notch with expert execution. Like, imagine 2005's House of Wax, but with a slow burn plot that is less contrived. By the way, this is no tea, no shade to House of Wax. I freaking love that movie and the fact that Paris Hilton is in it, but that's a story for another time. But yeah, I could fully write an essay about how Tourist Trap juxtaposes dark vibes of fall and autumn horror movies in a summer slasher setting, how the soundtrack has no business being this good for a low-budget slasher, and how adding supernatural elements to a serial killer can ramp up the fear factor if executed correctly. Like, I have legit watched this movie 6 times minimum and ended up owning it on Blu-ray because of how frequently I was watching it. Enough said. Number 5, Friday the 13th, 1980. Oh, come on, there's no way you haven't seen Friday the 13th, so this is a good reminder to rewatch it this summer. Texas Chain Saw Massacre might have started the summer slasher trend, but Friday the 13th really made it its whole personality. By far, it's the most popular entry on this list, has been parodied in numerous media properties, has a fan base as undying as Jason himself. Hi, it's me, I'm fanbase. And is honestly the kind of entertaining that you desperately need after a long day's work because you don't need to pay too much attention to know what's going on. What's incredible is that even though there's not a lot of depth to the movie and it can sometimes be really slow, it's still ridiculously entertaining and makes for a really good movie you can have playing in the background when you're at your family's summer cottage or in an Airbnb villa you rented with a bunch of friends for the summer. You got a serial killer, a bunch of teenagers who don't know which way's up, an attempt at a plot, great scenery, Kevin Bacon, and the name of a holiday being appropriated as a title of a horror movie for the sake of search engine optimization, or whatever the search engine optimization equivalent was back in the day. What more could you want? Number 6, The Burning, 1981. I'm not gonna lie, I was not expecting this movie to be good. Actually, I was a little bit disappointed that this movie was good because I was fully expecting it to be a complete disaster. But boy was I blown away by the third act. Shout out to Tubi for introducing me to this strange movie, which honestly didn't really captivate me in the beginning, but it really does grow on you as it progresses. I guess back in the day, they spent a lot of time establishing the setting, the music, the mood, the characters, all of that jazz, and so it seems like movies would move at a slower pace in the 70s and 80s, and this one is no exception. Let's be real though, this movie needs to be talked about way more because it's got some pretty disturbing scenes, somewhat reasonable plot, summertime and summer camp vibes for days, and a pretty sick finale. What's it about? A prank goes wrong and thus a serial killer is born who ends up punishing a whole bunch of innocent teenagers. Honestly, I'm surprised that they haven't already made a remake of this movie with a YouTube prank gone wrong, but yeah, check it out before they do that because it's totally gonna tarnish whatever reputation this movie still has left. You won't be blown away or anything, but you won't be disappointed either. Number 7, Sleepaway Camp, 1983. So I'm gonna be completely straightforward with you. I kid you not when I say drop everything that you are doing and go watch this movie. Like, if you're still watching this video, please stop, find Sleepaway Camp, and watch it. Have to feed the dog? It can fast. Have to go to work? Use the unlimited PTO. Need to use the bathroom? Hold it in, because this movie is an underrated classic that needs your attention ASAP. A bunch of kids go to a summer camp and people start dying. Sounds pretty basic, right? Yes, but I can't give you any more details because it will literally spoil the entire movie. Let's just say they take the summer slasher formula and season the crap out of it so it's a lot more flavorful. The murders are grotesque and well-deserved. The dialogue is iconic and actually sounds like how teenagers would talk.
Eat shit and die, Ricky!
Eat shit and live, Bill.
The teenagers actually look like teenagers instead of 30-year-olds with receding hairlines and beer guts, and the plot twist will trigger your fight or flight that's only going to result in you freezing instead. Trust me, I speak from personal experience. Also, the artwork is divine. Like, why is this movie so good? Anyway, enough glazing. And our final entry for the day, number 8, I Know What You Did Last Summer, 1997. Jennifer Love Hewitt from Ghost Whisperer is in it. Need I say more? Oh right, Sarah Michelle Gellar from Buffy is in it. Oh wait, her real-life husband Freddie Prinze Jr. from Scooby-Doo is in it. Okay, I'm done. No, wait, Reese Witherspoon's ex-husband Ryan Phillippe from Cruel Intentions is in it. Okay, so this movie has a lot going for it. Oh, and Kevin Williamson made it. Yeah, the dude who wrote Scream, Dawson's Creek, and developed The Vampire Diaries. Honestly, this movie is so ridiculously iconic that it gets parodied even more than Friday the 13th and is literally one of the 2 main movies being parodied in the Wayans Brothers Scary Movie. It's got a killer cast, great dialogue, characters that we actually care about and don't want to see die, a wild plot twist, dark summer vibes, great shots, and incredible pacing. For the 90s teens, this was Pretty Little Liars before Pretty Little Liars was Pretty Little Liars. Add it to your watch list ASAP or rewatch it this summer. And that's a wrap, mes amis. Summer slashers don't get talked about enough in the horror community, but as you can see from this list, they contribute quite a crap ton to the genre. We as movie watchers have convinced ourselves that bad things only happen at night, but I love how summer slashers flip the script, keeping us on our toes and making us even more suspicious of our fellow humans, regardless of what time of day it is. Like this video if you enjoyed it, leave a comment down below on your favorite summer slasher movies that may or may not be on this list, and hit that subscribe button for more old school horror movie content, media analyses, recommendation lists, rankings, and more. I'll chat with y'all later. Have a good summer. Bye.